Hey, good people. Sammy Ashe here, Executive Director of the Ashe Academy, and your host of our Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. Before we get into the show, I wanted to thank everyone who contributed to our Black Entrepreneur Expo and Mixer. It was a great opportunity to learn about careers in the arts during today's current climate, for better or worse. Entrepreneurship, from their passions to their challenges to overcome, and STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to pull back the curtain on some of those careers we only know by name but don't know exactly what they do. Our panelists were phenomenal. It's amazing how the Ashe Academy network has grown over the last year. Thanks again to our sponsors, LAS Customs, Next Now Pulse, our partners, Baby B Handmade Goods by Shirley, Nick's Historical Heroes, and we can't forget about friend of the foundation, Jerome Hurt, and Buy Black for Life, who sponsored and connected us to an incredible group of kidpreneurs, aka kid entrepreneurs, that we were able to highlight throughout our event. If you missed us live, worry not. I'll be dropping the link to the replay in the description box. Now, in other news, we have officially opened the Ashe Academy store. Merch is now available. This is not a drill. Yes, you can be an Ashe Academy brand ambassador. There are shirts, hats, face masks, and we're adding more very soon. So go to www.theasheacademy.org/store and get something for everyone in the family. Now, let's get started with the show. Hey, good people. Thank you for joining us once again for the Ashe Academy's Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. I'm Sammy Ashe, the Executive Director of the Ashe Academy. And today we are joined by someone I will call a cousin in my head because we have so many mutual friends. And this is the first time we'll get to chat with each other. But Jordyn, who is a singer, rapper, songwriter, producer. These are just a few of the many things that he is under his, multi-hyphenate. So we are super excited to get to know you a little bit better here. But thank you for joining us.
Hey, Fire. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. Excited to
Absolutely.
finally chop it up.
Yeah, so we do have to say before we get into the actual interview, so Vegas, who was on season 1, friend of the foundation, created our logo.
Hey, shout out
Is
Vegas.
a dear friend of ours, and a mutual, and then Stephen James, of course, if he's a mutual of Vegas, and they all know each other. So shout out to my friends and bringing it with my cousin in my head, Jordyn. We're finally talking now.
I love it, man. I love it.
So you are a multi hyphenate. So what got you into the arts in general? Like what is the beginning?
So to be honest, I'm definitely one of those people. It was just like a natural gravitational pull. Like since I came out the womb, I hate that. I hate when people say that I came out the womb singing, and I didn't. But I did always gravitate to music. And at a very early age, I found out that it was a career option, and I'd never considered anything else. So yeah, I was kind of one of the fortunate ones who was exposed to a recording studio at age 10, and
Wow.
had other creatives around me who just showed me that it was possible to actually make that dream a reality. So, but yeah.
Awesome. So that young, is that just because you had family members in the industry, or you're just like, I want to do this, and then your family is like, we're
Yeah,
gonna
so
do this?
it was always very obvious. I was definitely that kid who was always drifting off with my Walkman, just disinterested in everything else. You know what I'm saying? Like I would rent the same biopic every Friday, The Temptations.
Oh
Like I was
gosh.
just super obsessed with music growing up, so it was no secret. But my parents were not musical at all. They definitely, I don't think really saw a lane for it. But my mom remarried when I was 8, and my stepsister was a dancer, and she exposed me to sort of the dance community. And her dance instructor at the time, his name's Prince, who was actually one of my mentors, and he basically, he was a singer, dancer, and he saw my interest, and he saw sort of the spark and the whatever, the youthful charisma. And so he actually sort of took it to the next level, took me to the studio. And I would call him my uncle. So you can say my family. You can say my family is
Okay.
in the industry. Yeah.
That's a perfect segue into, did you have any like notable teachers or, in addition to that, mentor along the way that kind of propelled you into this path?
Yes, definitely. And I say mentor now, that was not the like official title that he took necessarily. At the time, he was, like I said, my dance instructor. My mom hired him to like babysit me, and sort of the relationship naturally progressed into like a mentorship. But he definitely introduced me to the music industry, and sort of guided me. He like facilitated all my photo shoots and everything like that. But along the way, man, I've been blessed to just have people just sort of show up. You know what I'm saying? Like along the path. I went to a boys and girls club um, as a teenager, and I had a couple of mentors there who taught me how to use like Pro Tools and Logic. There was a recording studio at the Boys and Girls Club, so they taught me how to use like all the software. And from there I moved to LA, and I got plugged in with the Gordies, and kind of got some, again, not an official mentorship, but just kind of soaked in all the wisdom of like Kerry Gordy, Barry Gordy, and all the producers that I've worked with. So it's I've definitely gotten guidance, but never the formal like mentor mentee relationship.
Okay. I feel like I have had that same situation where I can't say that someone is specifically my mentor, like, okay, the title of, definitely don't want to disrespect any of the people in my life who are still giving me guidance now, but like, I don't know if it's an expectation thing or like, me as a mentee, do I have to go up to someone and say, you are my mentor?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's that disconnect. Do you kind of feel that same way where you're like, I have to initiate, or someone has to initiate that relationship for me to call it that?
Maybe. And you know what else? I think that to be honest, I think it's almost better that it's unstated and unofficial, because I think that a lot of times with like when things become super formal, there is like this expectation of like, I'm under your wing now. And it's like there's no real like, when do I graduate? Like, when have I learned enough and it's time for me to move? Like, I kind of just feel like wisdom is just everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And obviously give credit where credit's due. Like, give people their flowers. I would not be here without the people who have, guided me and given me wisdom and opened doors of opportunity and stuff. But again, I think that I don't know, like, I think calling it like mentor, mentee would make it this thing of like this constant like hierarchy. And I like to think that
Mm.
now I'm at a level place with some of the people, and we're able to create together, create opportunities together, and grow. So yeah, but definitely, yeah, it is sort of like, it would be awkward to be like, hey, will you be my mentor? You know what I'm saying? Like, but to be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it would
Mhm.
be a little bit, I guess, vulnerable to say that.
Hmm. Now, was it a process between that transition to like, okay, we're on, you don't have to call it equal playing field, but like at least I regard you as a peer. Like,
Yeah.
how long did it take to kind of get through that point? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who have unofficial mentors, who may eventually turn into their peers and do that peer uplift. That's what we've been calling it when we don't really have mentors, but we have been supported by people at either same age or around the same age who we've been able to bounce ideas off of and kind of uplift together.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yes.
like, is that a few years? Is that like, what is the timeline on like, okay, that I
That's a
got
good
some
question.
guidance from you, but you're now a peer.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I don't think there's ever, I think it's a constant growth process. There's always something to learn from somebody. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Mhm.
think it becomes this thing where it's like, well, now I know more than you.
You
You
got
know what I'm
demoted.
saying? But I think that you just know in your heart that like, and it may not be this moment necessarily, but I think you just know like, okay, like this this dynamic has maybe run its course. Like I may have gotten,
Hmm.
I may have gotten what I need. That sounds horrible. Gotten what I need out of this dynamic, but at the end of the day, like we're still peers and we're still going to grow together and build, and life will sort of, bring us back together in the divine time, so to speak. So I've had people where, they were my mentor, up until I was 18. And then I went and I kind of went on my own path and created my own network and everything like that. And then I found myself at 24 calling them up again and being like, hey, like this is kind of what I'm going through and seeking advice and that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know that I think you just know, you're just like, okay, like I'm ready to expand. That's what I would say. I know
Awesome.
it's kind of vague, but
So I'm not going to name drop for you, but you have worked with some notable people. Would you say there was a moment that you would like call your big break into the industry, or have you yet to have that? What would you
yeah, it's
what
funny.
would you
I
say?
I very much so feel like I'm still yet to have that.
Mhm.
That isn't to say that I haven't accomplished some dope things that I'm proud of, and you got to take a beat and just like be grateful. But it's always sort of like, all right, next accomplishment. But I will say that I think the point that I really felt just solidified um in my career and knowing like, okay, I'm on good ground and I can build from here. And I don't feel like I'm ever going to get destroyed back to ground zero. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I've kind of gotten through this one threshold. And that was October 2019. I signed a pub deal with Red Bull Publishing. Um,
Awesome.
and yeah, I just got plugged into a really dope network of creatives, and they definitely, brought some dope opportunities to the table that I think, yeah, just put me in a new space to where I'm like, okay, I'm in the momentum and I don't got to worry for a minute. So yeah, I would say that I've had some milestone moments. I got a gold record when I was 21. Like I said, working with the Gordies
Wow.
was big for me. Last year I got to work with Twista, who was one of my favorite rappers growing up. Jordyn Sparks, who
See, I
inspired me.
wasn't gonna name drop it. Here you go. So there we go.
Right. I'm just,
I
I'm just going
I
with
was
the
gonna
flow.
give you an opportunity not to, but okay, good. There we go. You also won a Folgers contest. That's actually how I knew of you. You were
Oh
working
yeah,
with
yeah,
Steven.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I was like, oh, so all of your accomplishments that I've heard, I've been like cheering you on along the way as your little cousin.
That's
Just feel
fire,
like
man. And I
so.
appreciate it and I feel it, bro. I feel it. People don't realize how essential that is. And I do feel like as artists and creatives, like we get to this point where people see us and they're like, oh, they're doing good, they're fine. And some people will withhold the support that they may have given you in the beginning. And you
Mhm.
don't realize how much it actually like, you need it throughout the whole journey. You know what I'm saying? So I super appreciate it, man.
Absolutely,
But yeah, the
absolutely.
Folgers jingle contest was big. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's happened, and it takes me a second to be like, oh, that did happen. Oh, that was, so God has definitely done nothing but give me signs that I'm in the right path. You know what I'm saying? So I'm fortunate to say that. But yeah, I think it was the last year and a half or so where I felt like, okay, everything is aligning from the creative to the network to the financial to everything. You know what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
feels a little bit more like I'm on solid building ground.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, with all of these peaks and these great things that are happening for you, I'm sure along the way there's been some terrible advice. So, can you share some bad advice you've gotten along the way?
Some terrible advice. Oh man. Huh. Let me give that a second. I gotta really think about that. Here's what I'll say, because I don't want to waste too much time like thinking about it, but I will say that there have been people in my life who had the best of intentions,
Mhm.
and have given me advice, even from their own experience and their own wisdom, um, that I've had to sort of just turn the other way and plug my ears because it just was not for me in my journey. Uh, Things like, okay, I'll give you an example. Someone advised me during the Folgers jingle contest to cheat. That like literally someone was like, oh, all these, there are all these different services and bots online that you can rack your votes up and you can and do this or whatever. And I was just like, first and foremost, like I was slightly just like, oh, so you don't think I can actually win on my own? And second of all, like, no, like that would be so corny to like, win because I used bots and whatever.
Wow.
So I had to like definitely ignore that advice. And what's funny is this was somebody who's in the industry, somebody who's basically saying that the people you're competing against will be doing the same thing. So, so things like that, where it's people who, have advised me to kind of play dirty. And I've always just been like, nah, honestly, like if I got to do that, then I'd rather just I'd rather just lose. I'd rather just take the L.
I mean, as the street team, I feel a little attacked because I was out there sharing link,
Yeah.
racking up these votes, and someone's trying to use a bot. No, we got it on our own.
Yeah, so we
Fair
got
and
our
square.
own, bro, and that was such a gratifying experience because I had someone in my ear just telling me like, so I've had that, and I think in the industry you realize that there are a lot of people who are suggesting that you compromise your values and you take a more traditional route to get ahead, and I generally just reject that advice. I think that if you can't get it, and be true to yourself, then it's not yours. So
I mean, how big is our artistic integrity for you?
it's big. Artistic integrity is big. However, I will say my different people have different kind of artistic integrity. Mine is more of a narrative thing. Like I dabble in all genres, you know what I'm saying? I've done things that some people would call like maybe like artistically compromising. Like I've written for like tweeny pop artists and like definitely some people feel like artistic integrity is more like, oh, it has soul and grit and that kind of thing. I think for me artistic integrity is it's I guess me be really considering myself like a wordsmith, and that's what I enjoy is like the storyline, the narrative part of it. I feel like for me it's more about what's being said and do I agree with the message. So that's big for me.
Plus, those people are not hopping in on your bills
Right. You feel
at
me?
all.
You feel
So
me?
they can
Yeah,
fight
no,
it.
the people that be like, for the culture, and I'm just like, man, like, and I'm all the way here for the culture, bro. But I got bills to pay, and also too, like, I don't know, there are you meet great when you're willing to delve into other territories and genres and stuff. You meet great people. You create things that you stretch yourself. Like I enjoy sort of stepping outside of that safe box of like what's I don't know cool.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what was the best piece of advice that you've received over the years?
hmm,
Or
best
maybe greatest hits. It doesn't have to be the very best.
right somewhere in the greatest hits of advice. Oh, that's a good question. I would just say follow your compass. Your path is your path, and also that that there's no losses, just lessons. I know it's super cliche, but there's no point in your journey that's not in divine order. There's no fall that you've taken that's not designed for you to get back up stronger. And yeah, just follow your compass, trust the process, and you'll end up where you're supposed to end up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, a little bit about your favorite this or that. Do
All
you
right.
prefer songwriting over producing? Which would you say would be your favorite?
Mm. Definitely songwriting.
Okay.
Definitely
And
song.
what is it about songwriting that
That
just stands
that's
out
just
to
my
you?
bag. Like producing is something that I sort of I've learned how to do in times where resources were scarce and I just needed to like I've done mostly vocal production, so I've produced my own acapella arrangements and stuff. But I think that there's nothing like feeding off of a producer or a musician, and I don't know, writing songs to me it's like putting together a puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you don't know where the story's going to land, but there's no greater feeling than you know when it comes together, when you hit that final word of that first chorus. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, oh, that's what I was going for. You know, I didn't know what I was getting into, but it kind of came together nicely. I don't know. I just feel like I started off writing stories too. You know, I started off writing
Oh,
stories and
okay.
poems, and yeah, in kindergarten, I was a author. I consider myself an author. My friend Jacob was the illustrator, and we would write stories, and it kind of parlayed into writing music. So yeah, I would definitely say songwriting.
Wow. All right, another this or that, singing or rapping? Which do you prefer?
That's so hard. That's so hard. I would say rapping because rapping is my bag. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
rapping is like my first art form that I sort of perfected. But for me, like just in terms of like a really like there's no like when I'm driving, 90 miles per hour on the freeway. I mean the 65 miles per hour on the freeway, and got the windows down, and I'm just belting and singing out loud, and I feel like I'm Whitney Houston in my head. Like, they both serve their purpose. But if you were to ask me to go right now, I'd probably rap first. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
I won't do that. I'm not putting any artists on.
Fine. Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate it,
not doing
man.
that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Everybody got time for that.
Now, aside from the arts, just in general, what would you say is something that brings you joy?
Food. Food. I love me some food, man.
Now, let's talk about it.
Ethiopian,
What kind of, okay,
Ethiopian food
Ethiopian.
is
All right.
like I was actually just chomping on Ethiopian food 2 days ago. And I was just like, there's just no more euphoric feeling than when you dip that injera into that,
Hmm.
whatever that tips, and you put it in your mouth, and it's just I love food.
Now I want
Yeah.
some.
To a
Okay.
fault. To a fault. I definitely gained a solid 25 pounds over quarantine, and but I would definitely say food. And other than that, just loved ones, spending time with loved ones. I love games. I'm like super simple. I love game nights and kicking it with my lady, you know, traveling. I love driving. I just did a road trip to Nashville. I drove from Nashville back to LA like by
That's not
myself, and,
close.
and
That's
loved it. I
that's
loved
a few
every
days,
moment of
right?
it. Say it
That's a
again.
couple. Is that a couple days?
That's a couple days. Yeah, I did Nashville to Dallas the first day, and then Dallas to El Paso the second day, and then El Paso to LA the third day.
Oh gosh,
And it
yeah.
was like I,
Texas
I
is a whole
enjoyed
day
it,
in
man. I
itself.
just yeah. So yeah, I would say that food, games, traveling, those things always bring me joy.
Now, has COVID stopped you from any of this traveling, or you've made sure that you
It
just
changed the way
changed?
that I did it. It changed the
Okay.
way that I did it. So when I did Nashville, like I said, I did a road trip. I drove out there with my girl on the way out there, and then she flew back, but I drove back. And for me, driving was safer. I don't in my head like the recycled air of the plane and all the different people from all the different places. I was like, nah, I brought my Lysol with me when I stopped at the hotel,
Oh
sprayed everything
gosh.
down. So, to me, I was being cognizant when I drove, but COVID's definitely slowed a lot down. I had a couple of vacations that got shut down at the top of COVID. But it hasn't slowed down the food situation. Thank God for Postmates, and
Absolutely.
all the wonderful chefs in my life.
Now, about music making, has COVID changed the way that you guys are producing music? Is it like more of the sending files and then I'll just work on my part here and there, or I'll
That's
send you
exactly
stuff? Okay.
that's exactly what it's become. It's water in this red cup, in case you were wondering.
We're not censoring anybody. You could drink
Right,
whatever
good
you,
old April
it's
well.
your
Although
house.
if I had a little libations in there, I'd let you know too. But yeah, it's water. But so yes, it's been a lot of file passing. Luckily, I
Okay.
got my studio set up right over here in the corner of my room, so I've been very good to track demo vocals, and I outsource my mixes to my boy. Shout out Kofi J. And yeah, it's been a lot of that. People have tried the Zoom right thing. I don't love it. I actually just had a Zoom session last week, and it's what I do on the Zoom session is you kind of get on, you talk about the song, maybe where you want to head with it, whatever you can collaborate on, cool. And then it's like, okay, let me just shut this down and write this verse on my own or whatever.
Mm.
So it has made things interesting, but I'll say, to be honest, it's been cool because it's made it so you have to be a lot more self-reliant. A lot of times when you collaborate, when you're in constant sessions with other writers and other producers, you're sort of hitchhiking a little bit. You're piggybacking off of other people's energy, which is cool, you know. And a lot of times you're servicing someone else's creative agenda, you know, when you're writing for other people and everything. This has sort of made me key into me, my style, the point that I'm trying to get across, and because I'm the one who's generally tracking the demo or whatever, the final song for my own project, it's like, you know, I don't know, it just allows me to trim the fat a little bit and just key into what it is that I do and my creative expression.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Final this or that.
All right.
Writing for self or writing for someone else?
Ooh. Self.
Okay.
Self. Yeah. I love both. I love both, but self is beautiful because you don't have to worry about, oh, what register are they going to want to
Oh wow,
sing in?
yeah.
Oh, what are they comfortable talking about? You know, like, I think that writing for someone else, there's just a lot more variables to consider. You know, it's kind of like dating. You know, sometimes you get thrown in a session and it's great chemistry, and sometimes you're just on completely different pages. You know, and it's like when you're writing for yourself, it's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna write what I like. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know exactly. And I've been recording since I was 10, so like I know my voice. I know what tones I like to use, and you know, I have my arsenal of tools and stuff that I'm already comfortable and familiar with. So yeah, self is definitely more enjoyable.
All right, I think this is a perfect segue into our final Q&A session.
Let's get it.
Now, so who is your biggest inspiration?
That's hard. So I would say former years, Michael Jackson. Michael
Oh,
Jackson
okay.
was the person who I was obsessed with growing up. Definitely just this bigger than life superstar that made me go, I want that, you know. But as I got older, I would say that it's, you know, I sort of realized like Michael Jackson comes at a cost, right? Like the brother kind of ultimately, I think a lot of what made him the greatest also led to his demise, right? So I think I
Mhm.
started being more inspired by like people like Will Smith. I love Will Smith. I feel like he's someone who's been able to maintain a level of sanity and you know, integrity and still be this huge light for the world to experience. I love India.Arie. India.Arie is someone who
I
is
have shouted her out on every episode.
real,
Just so
like
y'all
she's like my heart, yo. She's like, I just want her to be my
absolutely.
mom. You know what I'm saying? And I love my mom. I love you, mom. Another mom. You know, like she's gotten me through so many times, man. Like I mean, her whole mission and purpose in creating music is to bring love and healing and light through words and songs. You know what I'm saying? So and I feel that every time I turn on her project, I'm just like, I feel like it's church. It's this spiritual experience, and you know, I feel renewed. So I would say India.Arie is probably my greatest inspiration in the latter years, for sure.
So not a bad album and her whole discography. So
Okay, so favorite album for you?
oh wow. Gonna turn the questions on me. I will say the most sentimental album is her second one. I believe
Okay,
it's Voyage to India.
Voyage to India, yeah.
But I mean, Acoustic Soul is up there. Worthy is an excellent album.
Worthy is great.
Yes. So, but she does not have a bad era.
Yeah,
That's the
it
beauty
doesn't. It's
of
just a
it.
matter of what's your flavor. You know, I think that
Mhm.
Acoustic Soul, Voyage to India, I think it was a little bit more, you know, what that sort of neo soul lane was for, you know, black artists at the time who weren't like hip hop or R&B. You know, I
Mhm.
think it sort of fit that box a little bit more, and I think she started to like expand in terms of genre and stuff, I think, towards the latter years. So I would say I love Testimony Volume 1.
Yes.
um I
Absolutely.
feel like that was like a perfect fusion of all of it, you know, the soul, but then like the sort of folkier stuff, you know. I would say, yeah, that's probably the best all around project for me from her.
I'm gonna have to have a session tonight. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Revisit. No, cause that Tyra theme song is on that album too. The
Tyra
Tyra,
theme song.
yeah, the Tyra show's theme song.
Oh,
It's a
well,
different version of it.
can you tell me what the song name
It's
is?
just I can't remember the song because just for today is the beginning of is the like leading lyrics. Oh, it's gonna bother me. We gonna
Okay.
tag India, and I'm gonna have it on when
I
we
completely
share this.
forgot about the Tyra show and that she had a show, so I'd have to go back and check that out.
Oh wow. You said I don't know her. You just
No, no, I love Tyra. No, I watched America's Top Model. I forgot that she had like a talk show,
yeah,
right?
the talk show from the I want to say the mid to late 2000s.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah,
listen, shout out Tyra. I don't know Tyra, but like
I don't know her.
the GOAT, like crazy pioneer in the industry. But yeah, no, I forgot about that era, the talk show era.
But no, love India.Arie. I have found a way to reference her on most of these one-on-ones. So, eventually maybe she'll hop on
we need to we
the
need to kick this
podcast
thing, you
too.
know. We
There
need
we
to kick
go.
it.
Yes,
That's all I
absolutely.
need to have in common with somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next question is as far uplift. Who do you hope to uplift with your work?
Everybody, everybody that experiences my work. Yeah, I would love to uplift or everyone that I encounter, I should say. I would hope that anybody who had an encounter with me would walk away saying it was a positive experience. But also at the same time, it's crazy. I think I used to put a lot more intention there. Um, I think my intention now goes a little bit more towards just honesty. You know what I'm saying, and just giving myself a little more grace to be human. And um, I almost feel like that's a better way to uplift versus sort of going into situations feeling like you have to. There's this calculated way that you can uplift and inspire people. Just tell your truth and be honest in a moment, and don't be rude. And I think that as a byproduct, whoever's supposed to be moved by you will be. You know.
Come on, another India.Arie song. We're gonna
I am moved by you. Yeah, I love
There,
that song.
there we go. I know I really agree with that because most of the things that I have, like blessings that I've received or positive remarks about the academy have been, I'm just showing up, I'm just doing the work. I
Yeah.
didn't want it. I didn't want like, okay, like I really want people to really engage with this. It's only when I'm just head down doing the work that everybody's like, hey, like that really was great. And I was like, oh well, I wasn't even trying. I wasn't
Yo,
trying
real
to.
talk. Like, there's so much. What people don't realize is there's so much power in your presence. Like, I think that again, we think this is when like a lot of times religion and different things come into play where we feel like it is our job to go into a situation and quote a scripture and encourage somebody and be this cup that's full of water that's overflowing. And sometimes, yeah, but I think sometimes it's like just being present and being there and just trying your best is enough, and that's
Absolutely.
cool. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, how do you stay engaged with your motivation? What keeps you going?
um I think for me it's several things. um to be honest, sometimes it's just doing it, right? Like, I think that creatively a lot of times we get in our heads as to why we're not writing, why we're not recording. And sometimes you just need to sit down and just put pen to paper. I don't put pen to paper, but put fingers to keyboard. You know what I'm saying? And just write, just go. And a lot of times you'll end up kind of motivating yourself by just taking that first step, um, and powering through that block that you perceive is there. Um, but sometimes it is just sort of unplugging and kind of connecting with God, I guess, whatever that means for you. But for me, a lot of times it's just going out into nature, just somewhere where, you know, I'm not surrounded by anything that man created, and I'm just looking at, you know, everything that God has done and everything that is perfect without our effort, you know, and plug it in that way. Sometimes I turn on sermons. You know, I love Devon Franklin, TD Jakes. I love listening to podcasts, and you know, so I think it varies, but I do feel like I always have that need to be motivated. You know what I'm saying? So it's just I'm sensitive to what I need in a moment. Okay, today I might need to unplug. Today I might just need to go. You know, and I will say having my own recording setup makes it a lot easier to stay motivated and just be doing stuff. Actually, so a better answer to your question is, regardless of if you're motivated, I think it's good to just do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Just do it.
I don't know that motivation is always super necessary.
Interesting. Okay. What's next for you?
So
Anything
right now,
dropping soon?
I'm working on an EP right now. This
Awesome.
year, my goal is to actually create a cohesive body of work for myself that I feel really good about, without the, you know, without the input or the objection from any A&R or anybody. Like, just something that I like, that I love, that I want to put out into the world, that I can go hard for and be on Instagram 24/7 promoting, and you know, something that just feels very true to my soul. So that's my goal this year. But other than that, I actually just partnered with a sync publishing company called Secret Road. And you know, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff for television and film this year. They actually just got me a placement for an NFL campaign,
Awesome.
and so yeah, it's going to be those kind of two things are going to be the balance for me. You know, kind of doing the television film sync thing, doing my project, and actually my project I am going to be putting towards the television film sync stuff as well. So
Perfect.
yep.
Perfect. How can people get in touch with you?
IG is the best way. That's like definitely where I'm at in terms of social media. At J.Wad. That's JDODDWADD. Other than that, you can go to my website, jordansmusic.com, JORDYNSMUSIC.com. Yeah, and hit me up. I respond.
Perfect. Perfect.
My DMs ain't that full yet.
Well, you are well on your way, and I'm hoping more blessings here to come, 2021 and beyond. You got a lot
Thank
going
you.
on. Singer, rapper, songwriter, producer, and so much more. Thank you so much for joining us. Once
Thank
again,
you,
this was
man.
Jordyn, everybody.
Indeed.
And I am Sammy Ashe, the Executive Director of the Ashe Academy. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye.